Welcome back, guys. My name is Fernandoherrera, and today we are in the final episode of our mobile tire shop series. Today we're going to be talking about how to manage your books or how to do the accounting for your business and the tasks you want to keep in mind when managing your books. Also, if you have not seen any of the past videos, be sure to check them out. We talked from things like how to build your band from scratch to what's the best programs or software to use. Also, if you haven't already, please just pause the video and help me smash that like button and subscribe. It really helps my channel a lot. Well, anyways, guys, let's go ahead and get down to business. Now, when doing a mobile business, oftentimes you will ask yourself this great question: am I making money? And if you're not reporting or doing your accounting reports correctly, the answer you are getting or you might be getting from your reports might be a wrong one. When doing a mobile tire shop sale, here is what happens. So I have a story for you guys. So let's just go with an example, and let's just say that you sold 4 tires to a customer and you bill him $100 per tire plus $25 to mount and balance. And the total balance or the total of the invoice would be $500. The price you paid for the tire to the wholesaler is $70. How much money did we make? So an average person would most likely say we made $220 of profit because it's 500 minus the 280 of the cost of the tires, it equals 220. And this is partially correct, but you want to keep in mind the true cost of your transaction. And that's what I'm going to be talking about right now. In order for us to find out how much is the true cost, we have to find out how much are we going to allocate to this specific job from the person's salary or the person we're paying for? How much are we actually allocating per hour to this specific job? So for example, how much in salary did it cost this specific job? How much are we spending in shop supplies? How much are we spending in our depreciated van? You know, our van is getting depreciated every mile we drive it. Now, knowing these numbers, we could actually come back and say, okay, we got $500 minus 35 of sales tax, minus the cost, which is the cost of goods sold, which is the cost of the tire, minus $2 of shop supplies, minus $25 for the hour of labor from the worker, and finally $7 for depreciation per mile. I calculated this as follows. Now, I calculated the $7 for depreciation as follows. I went ahead and assumed that my van cost $80,000, that I'll be keeping it for 5 years, and I'll be putting 12,000 miles each year. After the 5 years of use, I'm going to be selling it for $10,000 as a residual value. So if I'm going to be selling it for $10,000 in 5 years, I know that I need to depreciate $70,000 in a lapse of 5 years. Also, if I'm going to be putting 12,000 miles every year, I know that I'm going to be putting in 60,000 miles at the end of the 5th year. So if we divide those $70,000 into the 60,000 miles, then now we go ahead and get a $1.14 per mile traveled of depreciation. So if I want to calculate the true cost of my depreciation per trip, I would simply calculate how much are we traveling, and then I would multiply that $1.14 per mile for that trip. The cool thing about depreciating your van is, yes, you get less money per job technically. You still get the cash, however, ideally you want to save that depreciation money, so by the end of the 5th year you have $70,000 cash ready to buy your next mobile van. But anyways, after doing all those calculations, we find out that our true profit for the sale was actually $186. So that's a 15% difference that you may have thought you had in extra profit at first. That's why it's important to consider all sorts of costs, such as indirect costs and direct costs. Now, a direct cost is a cost that is directly attached or related to the job, like in this case, the cost of the tire. An indirect cost is a cost that is not very directly attached to the job, and you would need to calculate, such as depreciation or administrative expense. Now, finally, you want to make sure that you have some sort of accounting software which you can then use to invoice customers, unless you want to go paper invoices, but I don't recommend that. So in my case, I've talked in my previous videos on how I like to use Tire Connect for my specific website and pricing from my suppliers and quantity and inventory management. However, for accounting, I use QuickBooks. Also, QuickBooks does help me send a payment link to their phone. So if somebody doesn't want to pay through a card or cash, I could always just text a payment link, and it's actually very easy to use. QuickBooks does also allow me to use their payment card reader, which is a mobile card reader that looks something like this. As you guys can see, you can insert, swipe, and it's actually pretty cool because once they pay, it automatically is updated on QuickBooks. All you need is the QuickBooks app, and so it's actually pretty cool. Now, once in QuickBooks, I'll be sure to properly categorize the items in order. I normally only split the cost of tires and then the rest into labor. So for example, if I'm billing a customer $500, I'll go ahead and in the invoice, I'll split the labor, which is non-taxable in Nevada, and I'll put the tires separately. Now, my strategy is that as long as I sell the tires for my cost in Nevada, the service is non-taxable, like I mentioned. So the lower the price of the tires is, the less in sales tax I get to pay, and the more competitive I can become, and ultimately I make more money. Now, I'm not doing anything illegal because technically the state does allow me to sell my products at cost as long as I'm not selling under cost, because then that would be considered tax evasion. So I do want to leave this disclaimer. You do want to be very careful because you're literally 1 cent away from possible tax evasion. So if you're going to do this approach, just make sure that you know what you're doing. And if anything, I can always help you guys out and answer some questions. Just simply feel free to reach out. But after I've placed all of my invoices into QuickBooks, by the end of the month, I'll have my bank accounts connected into QuickBooks account as well. I'll have all my bank accounts connected to my QuickBooks account so that I can go ahead and categorize each transaction. So in my bank accounts, we will have withdrawals and then we will have deposits. The withdrawals are mostly expenses, so then I'll go ahead and categorize each expense. And it goes something like this. If we're spending in fuel, I'll go ahead and say, well, this most likely is gas for the mobile tire shop. And if we're spending on a check to a contractor that I paid to help me install some tires, I'll go ahead and say, well, this is most likely for contractors and salaries. Once this is completed, I'll finalize a bank reconciliation, which honestly, if you're not familiar with a bank reconciliation, it just means that you get your bank statement and you get your QuickBooks statement or your QuickBooks transactions, and then they both match. They both have the same totals. There's no discrepancies. Normally with QuickBooks, my bank recon just takes a few seconds, and we can go into a report and run a report called profit and loss. When we run this report, it will give us all of our revenues minus all of our expenses, and it's pretty much very, very, very simple, because in there you will be able to know exactly how profitable you are being and how much expenses you're having, how much you're paying in gas, how much you're paying in salaries, how much you're, so it's actually very nice. Most large corporations, if you do investing, you obviously do know that all companies are required to have financial statements, which includes this profit and loss report that I'm talking about. It includes a balance sheet, which pretty much just determines how much you owe and how much you own in assets like your mobile van and all the stuff. Now, if you do have a lot of transactions, sometimes keeping up with categorizing all these expenses and doing all these invoicing properly can be very complicated, and that's where bookkeeping comes. You got to keep in mind, if you're doing yourself the mobile tire shop appointments, if you're doing yourself the phone calls, if you're doing yourself online inquiries, you're going to find yourself that, the accounting and the bookkeeping stuff is very time consuming and sometimes could actually make some people just very cranky. If you're not like me, I love numbers and I could be with numbers all day. That's what I would prefer. If you're more hands-on, like approach kind of type of person, you still want to pay someone to do the bookkeeping for you because it will help you do better decision making for your business. Now, last time I spoke on how I use this company called Synergy Sage for when I'm busy with the phones. Well, Synergy Sage, just so you guys know, it's an outsourcing company that hires professionals that can also help you with bookkeepers. They can help you categorize transactions, and honestly, sometimes when you have thousands of these transactions, it's pretty tough. So I mean, for just a low fee of $9, approximately $9 an hour, you could hire some help, whether it's to categorize transactions, bill customers, or simply be your virtual assistant that you could just tell them, hey, I need this, 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 and this done, and they'll go ahead and get it done. Now, I will leave a link to their website on the description below. Be sure to check them out, and remember, if you mention that you came from my channel, you'll be getting a $100 credit. But anyways, guys, what do you currently do for your own bookkeeping? Do you enjoy it? Do you like running your books? Let me know in the comment section below. Also, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe for the YouTube algorithm. It really helps my channel a lot. Thank you so much for staying until the end. I really hope you enjoyed this 10-part video series. I'm thinking that I'm probably gonna be doing something similar to the tire industry just because I have so much knowledge on that area that I'm just gonna try to exploit that a little bit more. Probably the next video series I'm gonna be launching is on how to open up your own tire shop or your mechanical shop. And so I'm gonna be sharing a lot more things that go into a physical location that you want to keep in mind. But again, thank you so much guys for watching. I really appreciate you guys for watching all these 10-part series. If you have any questions, remember you can always reach me out via Instagram. I do have my website coming up very soon, so in my website you'll be able to schedule appointments directly, but at the moment that's not ready. So again, thank you so much guys. I hope you have a great rest of your week and stay safe. Peace.